ever had a marketing campaign that was doing exceptional and you were continuing to scale it, but then all of a sudden you hit this big plateau where your cost per lead went up and the campaign went sideways, this video is going to show you why that happens and what to do to fix it. So if you're new to the channel, welcome in. All we do is talk about how to hit $200,000 or more per month inside of your telehealth or brick and mortar healthcare and medical spa. So we all talk advertising on this channel. This is not one size fits all. We're not going to share all things in marketing. This is high performance advertising for clinics and telehealth owners who want to scale to the next level. So if you've ever had a campaign where, again, you were scaling it and then all of a sudden you kind of hit this ceiling, I want to talk to you about why that occurs. So when we do marketing, we have to be aware of how we're pulling people out of the market, okay? So for every campaign that you run, I'll just label this as campaign. Every campaign is going out and tapping into a market, okay? And in this market are viable people that we can extract as leads. So what we do is we run a campaign. That campaign goes into the market, and then it extracts out people from the market in the form of leads, which then turns into monetization, okay? Whether that be a call funnel, a lead funnel, whatever, the goal of the campaign is to make profit, right? But what happens is there's a replenishing amount of people coming onto the market every day, okay? So for example, if you run a pain management clinic, okay, you might run ads and somebody might see your ad today and they're like, oh, I don't need that today. And then a week later, something happens where their situation and circumstance is completely different, and now all of a sudden they're on the market for a service like yours, okay? So that is the replenishment rate of a particular market. That is the number of people that are actively viable in a market, okay? So what happens is, again, the campaign goes out and it extracts money, all right? And then naturally what happens is if you start making some money, then what you do is you scale up the budget. So budget increases, okay? And then naturally as a result, you want to see your money increase, more profit. Okay, so then what do? You scale it again. And eventually though, you reach a ceiling, okay? And the ceiling exists because once you reach a certain daily budget, okay, whether that be, 10K a day, maybe 5K a day, it could even be 100K a day, depending on your market size, okay? Then what happens from there is you find your cap. And then what happens is you know that you've hit your ceiling because your budget will start to make you bleed money, okay? That means that your cost per lead is going to go up. Your cost per call is going to go up, okay? And then all of a sudden you're left like, wow, this is working so well, but now all of a sudden it's broken, okay? So here's how to handle that situation, okay? So instead of freaking out, you just want to label that campaign as foundational, okay? So a foundational campaign is the following. Okay, so you have a campaign and you are extracting money from the market. So what you always do is you always start with a test budget. Okay? Once that test budget is proven, then you scale. Now, in a campaign, there's two ways to scale. You can do the slow model, which is 10 to 30% per day, or you can do the fast model, which is, this is slow, which is basically cost per X strategy. Okay, so let me talk about these. So the scaling 10 to 30% a day basically means that if you have a campaign that's running at $100 a day, then you can scale it up from $100 a day to somewhere between 110 and 130 a day. Can't scale more than about 10 to 30%. Otherwise, what it'll do is it'll break the learning algorithm and your campaign will actually have to relearn. Now, Meta's not going to tell you that it's relearning, but you might see your results start to change, okay? So that's a more safe way to scale any campaign. Now, the fast way is the cost per X strategy. So let's say that right now you're getting $10 leads and your goal is to get, let's say, 10 leads per day. Okay, pretty low. I'm just using basic number to keep it simple, okay? So as a result, then you would want to say, okay, I'm getting $10 leads and I want 10 leads a day, so my budget becomes 100 a day. Okay, so with that strategy, you may find that if you scale to the cost per X strategy, the budget required to hit the lead volume per day, you might see that the campaign stays stable. And in which case, scale it up again, okay? Now, here's what happens in a lot of cases, though, like I mentioned, is that you'll start extracting people too fast comparatively to the replenishment rate. And when that occurs, again, you will notice your cost per lead shoot up, cost per call shoot up, okay? And that's a result of typically you've reached the ceiling. So your goal is to get a test budget and then scale it and then find the budget that's the highest but still produces a favorable outcome in terms of the cost per call and a cost per lead, okay? And then once you find that, then you have a foundational campaign. So your business will eventually look like this. You'll have one campaign going into market one, extracting money, okay? And then you'll find the max budget per day. Max budget per day, okay? And then once you find that max, you'll know because when you scale it one day, it'll work. And then you scale it again, and then all of a sudden the cost per lead starts going way up, or the cost per call starts going way up, okay? At that point, you revert back to the old budget, okay? And you hold it, okay? And then that becomes a foundational campaign. So the foundational campaign is a campaign optimized at the highest budget. Okay, campaign optimized at the highest possible budget, okay? So what most businesses do is they just rely on one campaign. But what the smart businesses do is they find one foundational campaign and it makes them money. Then what they do is they go out and they add a second campaign. Market two, that produces more money. And then they add a third. Okay, and then all of these campaigns work together to hit the revenue goals of the business. It's pretty rare when one company has one campaign only that's allowing them to hit their revenue goals, okay? So I want to give you some ideas. Like, let's say you have a foundational campaign and it's making you money, but you have a hard time scaling it, or you found that scaling cap where it's, again, you're pulling people out of the market too quick, so you got to revert back down to the max budget, okay? So let's say in campaign one, you have found that max profitability. You can't scale it anymore. So then the question becomes is how do you add new campaigns, okay? So new campaigns. So let's say that you have an aesthetics business and you're selling to women, and maybe you're selling to women who, want to just look good. They want to have an aesthetically good appearance. That could be Botox, it could be skin tightening, it could be any sort of fillers, right? Okay, so let's say the first one is a call funnel. So let's say that your main campaign equals call funnel. We'll call that C1, okay? Now, how can you adjust that without breaking the whole thing? Well, there's a few different ways to come up with new campaigns. Number one is you could change the conversion mechanism. So maybe you have a call funnel and you want to add in a webinar. Now that would work because the market's already expressed interest in the offer. Some people are ready to book calls, which is why your call funnel is working, but not everyone on the market is ready to book a call yet, okay? So with that, then we can add in a webinar, and then that becomes C2, and that also leads to money, okay? Now the other way you can do this is by making an offer/position change. Okay, so the offer or position change would be like, okay, you're running, let's say, maybe like a Botox campaign, and you found the max budget. Anytime you go higher than that, it starts to bleed money. So you lower that campaign down to the normal good budget that's profitable, the max profitable budget, and then you let it sustain. And then maybe you start up a second campaign that's skin tightening. Okay, so still a call funnel, but it's a different offer and positioning. Instead of Botox, it's skin tightening. And then you do the same thing. Start with a test budget, scale it up 10 to 30% of the day, maybe more if you want to go aggressively. And then once you found that max ceiling, then you label that as a foundational campaign. Okay? The other way you could do this is by changing messaging. So maybe you're still running a call funnel, okay? But you want to change the message. So the message might be, okay, maybe we're marketing towards women for an offer. Maybe we can offer towards men. Still have a call funnel, still do something with aesthetics, but maybe there's some position we can use for men, okay? Now that would be a little bit less common in aesthetics, to be clear, because it's mostly the females that are doing that particular offer, but you get the point. You can just change the message to be able to get a new funnel going, okay? It's kind of a different avatar. Okay, now the fourth way you can make changes is by adjusting the whole thing. You change the offer, you change the position, you change the avatar, you change the messaging. Oops. And you change messaging. Sorry about that. Okay, so this could still be calls, but now maybe again our whole offer has changed. We have a different product line in our company that now we can promote to go out and actually get more business. So you can use combinations of all of these. Sometimes you're like, hey, I only want to stick with my main avatar. Try changing the conversion mechanism. Oh, I want to stick with the same avatar, but I want to give them something new. Try changing the offer, right? And then from there, test different angles. So the messaging is like hooks, body, CTAs, content, okay? All those relate to messaging, all right? So your goal as a business owner is to stack foundational campaigns on top of one another, because that's what all of our businesses are doing. Most businesses don't get huge just by having one campaign. They stack all these on top of each other, and as a result, they produce revenue at a high frequency to hit the revenue goals that they're looking for, okay? Now, you don't have to just only do paid ads, right? So C1 might be paid ads. C2 could be email. Maybe you're not squeezing all the juice from your current fruit, so you want to start an email marketing campaign. Okay, maybe you're also doing organic. Maybe you have direct outreach. Okay, those are all examples of what you could do for different strategies. So not only can you stack different types of paid ad campaigns, but you can stack different things too outside of ads as well. Okay, many of our clients come to us and they do no sort of email marketing. They have thousands of leads, but they never touch base with them, right? So that would be one strategy that we could use to go in and add a foundational campaign, okay? So your main mission now, after watching this just short video, is to go out and add stuff. Because the business that only has one campaign is very risky. Because if this campaign flops, you have no money, you have no revenue, you have no calls on your calendar, okay? But the business that has all of these, less risky. Because if campaign one flops, we still have 3 others that will make money, okay? And that is how businesses not only make more money from their campaigns, but also decentralize the risk around one single campaign, okay? So this is a lesson on foundational. So let me give you some actions here. Number 1, decide on a campaign and then give it a test budget. Okay, if it performs, then you want to scale budget. Okay? Now what you'll do is you will continue until max. Now once it's maxed, you're going to know because your cost per lead or your cost per result will become overly high, okay? And at that point, scale it back down. So this is still C1. Scale back to profitable budget. And then hold it, okay? Then you'll add C2. Add another campaign. And that's it. And that's how you effectively scale marketing campaigns, okay? So remember, one campaign, risky for the business. Multiple campaigns, less centralized because you're relying on more than one channel or offer or campaign to get your results, okay? So I hope you can take action on this because it'll have a dramatic impact on your ability to make money. Don't centralize yourself and pigeonhole yourself into one single channel, one outreach strategy, because if that strategy ever dries up, you're gonna be left in the wind, okay? We don't like that. So start by creating a campaign, whatever it is. Whether you wanna start with a call funnel, lead form, whatever you're doing, just start with a funnel, okay? Or start with email, start with something. Give it a test budget and then scale it, okay? Now, as an example with email, you might not be able to scale budget like crazy, but you can scale frequency. If you go from one email a week, go to one email a day and see what happens, okay? And eventually you will find your point of diminishing return, okay? That's where the campaign is kind of maxed and you're just trying to extract more from the market than is actively being replenished for you, okay? Now, if you want our help with this, I'll leave some notes in the description, okay? We help with hands-on deals and we also do education for our clients. That means that we can come in and do a hands-on deal where we would actually work closely with your team to script out all your ads. We would do all the content production, and then we would ultimately place and manage those ads for you. Now, if you want us to just teach you the best practices in modern day advertising, there's a link in the bio, or the description, I should say, for our Master Clinical Marketing Program. That's where we do a skill and knowledge transfer and just give you all the best practices that you need in order to actually hit the outcomes that you're looking for. So that would be for somebody that maybe you have a good teammate on your team, but they just need to acquire a few more skills, but they can manage it in-house. That's where we could come in and help in the Master Clinical Marketing Program. And if you want to apply to work with our agency, I'll leave a link for you to do that too, okay? So go take action. The biggest disservice you can do for me personally on this channel is to watch this video and not take any action, okay? And by the way, we don't make any income claims. I'm not gonna sit here and say you're gonna hit 200 grand a month. The probability of you doing that is extremely low, okay? But these practices and the foundational campaign ideas will have a dramatic increase in probability of you reaching those high revenue numbers. So go take action. I look forward to seeing you in the next training. If you have comments on this, feel free to drop them below. I'm happy to answer. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Cheers.